everybody, welcome back to House Take on Sports. This is the 9th episode, and today we're going to discuss the NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Mount Rushmore Sports, Philly, the NBA playoffs, and finally our mascot of the week. So going into the NBA Draft, I had high hopes for my team, and most of you know the Atlanta Falcons are my team. The biggest needs were size and a lot of help on defense, and I think they got a good amount of size and a little bit of help on defense, not a lot. A couple of offensive linemen early on, and a fullback from Wisconsin, top fullback in the nation. I like that. Here are my honor roll teams from the NFL Draft. Number 1, the Cleveland Browns. Taking Trent Richardson, even though they gave up 4 additional picks to get him, very smart. Peyton Hillis just wasn't working out anymore in Cleveland, and guess what? Trent Richardson is the guy, and he's going to be a stud Pro Bowl back. In the second round, they were able to get Mitchell Schwartz, who most people don't know, but he is probably going to be the most underrated tackle that has gone in this draft. He was possibly, or probably I should say, a first-round pick, if not a late first-round pick, but he went in the second round, and that's great value. I'm not sure, honestly, about Brandon Whedon, the quarterback taken at number 22. I don't know why. He's going to be 29 years old when he gets into the league this year, and he's going to be taking a job from Colt McCoy, who's probably going to be Cleveland's quarterback in the future. And if he played with an offense that allowed him to just be a quarterback and a true playmaker, probably could have been a pretty good player. The St. Louis Rams, I think they did pretty good, shoring up a little bit of defensive problems they had on the line and also in the secondary. Michael Brockers from LSU, a beast, and man, he's going to be a good one. In the secondary, Tremaine Johnson from Montana, I like, and also Janoris Jenkins, who was a guy who came from Florida, went to North Alabama, had a little bit of problems, but he seems to have straightened himself out. Maybe he needed that new scenery there with Terry Dobbin at North Alabama. Finally, the Jacksonville Jaguars traded up to get Justin Blackmon, which honestly, that's the coup right there. Jacksonville's needed a playmaker since what year did Jacksonville come into the league? That might be since since then is when they needed a playmaker. And to go back, I hate to do this, Mitchell Schwartz actually was drafted by Jacksonville, not Cleveland. The other player I was talking about, or needed to talk about Cleveland, Andre Branch from Clemson. He was one of the 2 guys on the defensive line at Clemson that probably had a chance to go late first, early second, and you were going to get great value from wherever you got him there. The teams to me that failed, the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't honestly think they drafted for need. I think they needed a lot, but when I looked at the picks, it didn't look as if they drafted for the particular needs that they were looking for in the draft. Now, of course, I'm no NFL man, but I could see exactly what most of us can see. And I did a lot of research, and honestly, Drake Kirkpatrick, good pick, because he's a good physical, strong quarterback who can play day 1 in the NFL, but I'm not sure he has that catch-up speed, and I'm not sure he has top-flight speed to keep up with the faster receivers, the number ones that he's going to be put on. The Dallas Cowboys, I honestly don't think they got much value at any pick. And most people are going to tell you that Dallas, the trade up in the first round, was probably the winning pick. And that might be it. That might be all they got for value in all their picks. Finally, the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers did not draft a single playmaker for Cam Newton. This guy was probably the best rookie quarterback, best NFL rookie in 25, 30 years. This guy was a straight beast, and he dominated the NFL the way he played. But guess what? He can't continue to do that by himself year after year. They needed playmakers. They got him none. They did go out and fill a few needs, so therefore it's not a total bust. But honestly, you needed more around Cam Newton. A couple of head-scratching things from me. The Kansas City Chiefs selecting Dontari Poe, who I actually, on my show here, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, coming out of the Combine, I said Dontari Poe had a lot of upside, had a lot of potential, may have made himself a lot of money at that combine. And guess what? He did. Scott Pioli thinks he's going to make him into a superstar, kind of like in the mold of Vince Wilfork. He's a big, big guy, okay? Unfortunately, Kansas City, like a few other teams, has a lot of needs to fill, and they didn't need to go out and spend that pick on a guy that is not necessarily the kind of guy that come in and you know he's going to make an impact. This guy has got big, gigantic upside written all over him or big, gigantic bust written all over him. And because of that, I think that's a bad pick by Kansas City. A lot of players there that you knew could come in and play right away and fill the needs that they had to fill. The Dallas Cowboys traded him to select Morris Claiborne. I'm not going to go into the whole Wonderlic thing. You know, they said he scored a 4. I don't know if that plays into how well he's going to be able to read the NFL defensive playbook, because I know from what I understand years ago, Dallas had a really extensive one. I'm not sure if it's still the same today. If it is, and that holds true, the guy is not as bright as that score would test, or that test score would prove. He may have a tough time kind of learning that defense. Other than that, I don't think the guy has top flight speed. I don't think he has the coverage skills that most people think he does. I think he's going to be a good NFL player. I don't think he's going to be a great one. You can write that down if you like, but I don't think so. Arizona, going out and getting Floyd from Notre Dame. Now, I don't think this is a bad pick, by the way, because the guy he's a solid receiver that's come out of Notre Dame in years, and let alone the NFL draft in years. But who's going to throw footballs to him, Larry Fitzgerald? Those guys may be one of the best receiving corps in the league next year, and nobody's going to know about it. I don't know who's throwing footballs to him. Tell me who Arizona's quarterback is. I think that's, like I said, I don't think it's a bad pick necessarily, but you need to let them know who's going to be throwing the football to them. A couple of teams kind of snuck in and made some really good picks, and maybe just because they were available, and also teams helped them out a little bit. The New England Patriots was able to trade up when they generally trade down out of the first round to pick up a couple extra picks and pick up good guys in the second and third. This time they traded up to take Dante Hightower. I know the Baltimore Ravens were clamoring over Dante Hightower, but guess what? New England got a great pick. If this guy can play in cold weather, just brilliant pick. The Baltimore Ravens, guess what? Top of the second round, they had a guy fall into their lap, Courtney Upshaw, Dante Hightower's teammate at Alabama. Guess what? That is a fantastic pick. He's going to fit right in with that defense and just chug right along. That's just what Baltimore does. They have guys like that. And people wonder where he could play. Guess what? He's going to play at Baltimore. He's going to be an all-pro. Next, our Philadelphia Mount Rushmore sports. Philly was one of the cities where I used to live as a small kid right outside of Philly, and I loved the Phillies at the time because I didn't know any better. And the Phillies have a great tradition of baseball history. With that, the first person on the Mount Rushmore of Philadelphia sports, Mike Schmidt. Hall of Famer, 15-time All-Star, 3-time MVP, he's a world champion, and he's an 8-time home run champion. It's a no-brainer. Secondly, Steve Carlton pitched 15 years in the Philadelphia Phillies. He's a Hall of Famer as well, won 241 games while he was there, and he won 4 Cy Young Awards. I don't think people know, outside of baseball, traditional baseball fans, how good Steve Carlton was. Phenomenal baseball player. Next, Dr. J, Julius Erving. The guy kind of revolutionized the acrobatic, moving around the basket, the dip and dunkaroo type stuff, and he was an ABA carryover, but still managed to be an 11-time All-Star in Philly, an NBA champion, and an NBA MVP on his way to becoming a Hall of Famer. Last person on this mountain, Philadelphia Mount Rushmore sports, Bobby Clark of the Philadelphia Flyers. This guy was a 7-time All-Star. He eventually became a Hall of Famer, and he won 2 Stanley Cup Finals while playing at 4 altogether. Philly, when they first started out, they didn't really know where the franchise was ultimately going to be headed, but guys like Bobby Clark came in right away, punched Philly into superstardom or into the mainstream psyche of hockey fans, and Philly became one of the top franchises in the NHL for decades and decades. Part of it large due in fact to Bobby Clark being there and winning a couple Stanley Cups early, scoring lots of points, 1,201 points total in Philadelphia. So that's your Mount Rushmore Philadelphia sports. Mike Schmidt, Steve Carlton, Bobby Clark, and Dr. J. Next, I'd like to talk about the NBA playoffs. They just started a couple days ago, and I didn't know where a few teams were headed, but I think we've got a clearer picture now. First, I'll go ahead and tell you, the MVP of the league I think will be LeBron James. He wouldn't be my MVP. My MVP personally would be Kevin Durant. I think without him, Oklahoma City is not a basketball team, not a viable basketball team, a 500 team at best. With Kevin Durant, one of the best teams in the NBA, bar none. I think LeBron, Kobe Bryant, probably Kevin Love, and maybe to a lesser degree, Tony Parker are also going to get votes. And if you haven't seen Kevin Love's numbers, you need to look at them. Phenomenal, through the roof. Kobe barely lost out the scoring title to Kevin Durant, who would be my pick for the NBA MVP. And then Tony Parker, look at how the Spurs played this year, and look at what Tony Parker did for the Spurs this year. I think the Eastern Conference champs are going to be the Miami Heat. I think it's a no-brainer. I think with Boston being as old as they are, losing potentially Ray Allen and then Rajon Rondo getting into a little bit of trouble in this first round against the Hawks, and Chicago losing Derrick Rose. I don't think New York has it. I don't think Indiana has it. I definitely know Orlando doesn't have it because Dwight Howard's out. Miami has the clearest path to the NBA Finals. The Western side, the Western Conference, Oklahoma City and the San Antonio Spurs, I think will battle it out to face the Miami Heat in the NBA Finals. I think ultimately San Antonio is going to win out, but I wouldn't count out Oklahoma City because they have fresh, young legs. Guys can run up and down the court, and guys can shoot the lights out of that team. I think the one surprise team, and I know it sounds kind of silly to me because it's my team, the Atlanta Hawks. Being without Al Horford and Zaza Pachulia, I didn't know how they'd stack up against Boston in that first round. They pretty much took care of business before the end of the first half in the first game. Rajon Rondo got himself suspended for the second game. Guess what? That's probably going to be a win for the Hawks as well at home with home court. If they beat out Boston, and let's say they go play Chicago, they're going to play Chicago without Derrick Rose. And then ultimately might make it to Miami to play Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals. I know it seems far-fetched, seems kind of silly. Chicago's still a good enough basketball team to beat the Atlanta Hawks without Derrick Rose, but I think with Jeff Teague, the way he showed himself in playoffs last year, if Joe Johnson could just step up and play a few games above himself, play outside of yourself for a little bit, buddy, play up to that contract, guess what? The Atlanta Hawks might be viable with Josh Smith flying around the way he is and Jeff Teague playing to the level he's at. They have a deep bench this year, and I think it's really underrated. Last, the mascot of the week. This mascot, Big Lug, of the Lansing Lugnuts baseball team in Lansing, Michigan. I remember when I was a kid, I used to love hearing about this particular mascot, and I just had to put it on here. So there you go. Big Lug, Lansing Lugnuts, Lansing baseball in Lansing, Michigan. That's your mascot of the week. I really do appreciate you guys watching. I've noticed a big spike over the last few weeks and people checking it out. And everybody that sends somebody else my way to watch, that is awesome. I really do appreciate it. If you'd like, leave a comment on Facebook, leave it on YouTube, like it, do whatever you like. But please share it if you like it, okay? Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week. Bye.